Okay, let's get rid of, what was it called? The cat.
Oh, but I love the cat music.
Nyan Cat.
Nyan Cat. Nyan the cat.
Okay, so hi guys, welcome. It's fantastic that you're going to join us for part 9. As always, for those of you on the call, your video should be disabled. Your audio should be, microphone, sorry, should be disabled. This is for safeguarding to make sure everyone is safe, etc. Kathy has already shared the link, which is fantastic. Thank you. Let's introduce ourselves and then we will begin. My name is Dave. I'm the tech lead on one of our tools, and I am with Kathy.
Hello, how are you?
Who I hope can talk and be heard.
No? Hello?
She's had microphone problems. Oh, hang on, it could be me being muted.
How about
Kathy.
now?
Yay, it was my fault.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, very well. Yourself?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Fantastic. Okay, and I'm joined with my
Youngest daughter, Tessa.
Tessa. She has no life herself. If you notice, we're actually matching shirts, which I guess is quite disappointing for you.
Hey, you love the idea. So it's disappointing for you to lie.
Okay.
Not me.
So what we're going to do, if you remember guys, last week we got partway through this. We're hoping to continue this from where we left off. There may be a couple of little differences. So if you were able to save where you got to last time, it's acceptable to continue from there. If you want to follow along, I suggest you have a look at the link that Kathy has already shared, which is the tiny URL. You should see something similar to what is shown on the page. And I've circled at the top right this thing called See Inside. When you click on that, you should be taken to the editor, which I'm going to load up, which is here. And I'm also just going to share, for those of you who want to follow the tutorial as well, that is the second link that has been shared, and you'll be able to see what we see. Are we ready to go?
Maybe.
Maybe, fantastic. Okay, so at the moment, let's have a look and see what things are different compared to how they were when we left. So within this project, the biggest thing I can see that's different is an owl seems to be crashing into our cat instead of just a tree.
So boring. All the different things seem possible. First it's a tree, then it's an owl, and then suddenly it's a donut. How can a donut be bad?
Well, that's the strange
It's a good thing.
If I
You
play
just eat
this, there is a donut
Yeah, I love donuts.
and an owl.
You just eat them. Eat
So
them.
it's tree, donut, owl. I kind of understood with the tree. I understood with the bird. You would get those.
Yes, but not the donut.
The
because you
donut's a
just
bit
eat it.
strange. Let's just see how that works, just to have a look. So if we have a look at tree, and I've clicked on tree,
Yes, you have.
and this is this area. Do you remember what this is called? It's called our sprites.
Sprite.
Yeah, so I clicked on the tree sprite. I'm then going to move my mouse up here to costumes.
Costumes.
Yeah. And we can actually see that normally our costume 1, costume 2 and 3 have typically been differences of the same things. The first would be a tree, the next would be also a tree, but maybe the leaves have moved a bit and it would make it look like the tree is moving. I'm also just going to go to my mouse settings. I'm just going to make my mouse a little bit, I'm just going to colour my mouse and make it just a bit bigger.
Oh, can you make it purple?
You want it purple, do
Yeah.
you? Okay, that's priorities. Hopefully that makes it easier. People just see where the mouse is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so here we can see we have a tree, a donut, and an owl.
Ooh, interesting.
So I'm going to
Very
go
nice.
click back on the code. We don't need to do anything here.
Mm-hmm.
It's just to see why this thing called next costume, oh, which is also too small. There we go. this thing called next costume is changing from a tree to a donut. Is that okay?
Yes. Even I don't know why it's a donut.
So the next thing we're going to do is when we play the game, can we see that our obstacle always appears from the, where would you say it comes in? The
Bottom or middle?
middle.
Okay.
Definitely in the middle. And that means if we were to play the game, as soon as we move out the way, we would never be hit, but we would never lose, and that's not very challenging. So
you just have to stay in the middle, basically.
well, we want to avoid these. So what we want is the obstacle to be in a different position each time.
Oh, interesting. I actually like that. That could be a good game.
Okay. So click on variables. So somewhere, the way we're going to do this is to generate its new position and to remember it. And to remember, we have to use, oh, we did this earlier. Can you remember what it's called? Can you remember or not?
Variables?
Yes, variables.
Variables.
Well done. So somewhere on the left-hand side with all of our colours, there should be one called variables. Do you know what colour that is?
Orange.
Yeah, but there's actually two oranges. There's a control, and near the bottom there's this variables.
So it's a darker one.
The darker one, yeah, actually that's better explained than I did.
Yeah.
So I'm going to click on variables. We have a few boxes. These boxes are buttons. We can click on them. The first one says make a variable. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So I clicked on make a variable, and this overlay appears. And we have to give our variable a name.
Can I pick?
Sorry?
Can I pick?
No, it doesn't work that way. Because we have to give our obstacle a sensible name. Now, this is where it appears on the x-axis. So y is kind of up and down on the vertical, x is on the horizontal. And it's going to be used with our obstacle. And because it's our obstacle in position in the x axis, we're going to just call it that. So I'm going to call it obstacle.
Okay.
And then I'm going to do an X. Now, if you're following with the tutorial, it will suggest _X. I don't think it matters too much. So if you can't find where that symbol is, the underscore, it's okay. You can just do obstacle X like that. I'm going to make the X uppercase just because for my eyes it makes it a bit easier to read.
Yeah, I totally understand that.
Cool. Click on variables. We've done that. We've also given it a name.
Oh.
So hopefully everyone is caught up. We're going to say OK now. Sorry, a new variable, almost for this sprite only. So I'm going to click cancel quickly and go through this one more time. Make sure you have selected your tree.
Donut.
I know, it shows a picture of the donut, but the word is tree.
Tree donut.
A donut tree. That's where donuts came from.
Oh, but donuts, they could be as shaped as a tree. Donut tree.
It could be. So I'm going to click on tree. Now I'm going to click create a variable. So this is the same thing we did.
The same thing over and over.
Obstacle X for this sprite only. Okay, and then we can click OK.
Yes.
It should show, there it is. I knew it was going to show somewhere. So if I just quickly expand, we can see tree 1, obstacle X. Don't really want that visible. So what we can do is remove it to the left of our obstacle X under variables, there's this blue box with a check, or a tick, I should say, or check. And we can click on it. And as I click on or off, you can hopefully see over here by our cat, your cat may not be there, but in the top left anyway, as I click on and off, it will toggle that to visibility. And we don't want to see it.
You're right.
So now we have a sensibly named variable. Can you remember what a variable is?
A name or something, or an age or something.
Not far off, yeah, age could be a variable. A variable is the name that stores some value.
Like name, age.
Yes, correct. So, what's your name?
Tessa, like
So,
I said this.
Tessa goes to name. What's my name?
Great.
Dave. So, Dave is the name. What's your age?
7.
So, age is 7. Okay, we don't need to go any further. Next is 2. Find out when we want to set this variable. Quick look at the code blocks. When the green flag is clicked, forever run this. Well, it kind of has to happen as the first thing we want to do, because at the moment, our X variable is at 0, which is why it always starts in the middle. So we need to have it already set. So the first thing we're going to do is still within the variables section. So variables are still clicked. The second orange block says set obstacle X to 0. If I drag that, you can see set obstacle X to 0.
Now it's a Christmas tree. Interesting.
And I'm going to put this after forever and before the go to X. So I've dropped it in there. We'll just give everyone a second to catch up. As always, if I'm too fast, if I'm too slow, even if I'm doing the right speed, please let us know in the chat. We obviously can't see you to gauge, so it's okay to say, hey, too fast, too slow.
Where's the chat?
The chat's over there.
That's the chat?
Yeah.
Wow. Looks weirder from my phone.
So, what we're going to do now we need to set the, oh, sorry, I will slow down. Thank you so much for calling that out.
Did not see that.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to re-explain some of the things we just did, which hopefully will give people a chance to catch up, or anyone who wasn't sure. So we clicked on make a variable. We gave it a sensible name. The variable represents the position of our obstacle. So having the word obstacle made sense. It could have been obstacle position X. Please could you, oh, but it is the cat blocks.
What cat block?
Did you mean this? If so, I think Kathy has already shared a link which will get you up to speed. So if you scroll up, Manessa, you will see a tiny URL link. Let me grab it for you. Thanks, Kathy. So if you click on that link, I'm hoping it will already have all of the code in for the cat. When you click on that link, there should be somewhere, I can't find, it could be in here. Yeah, as you can see on the screen, you should be able to click on the See Inside link, which I've poorly circled in red.
Yeah, I agree.
Click on that and you should be to the same stage. Oops, I'm about to close that, don't do that. Cool. Okay, so that means when you, at this point, Manasseh, you're going to have to click on Tree, which is in your sprites. I think you said you know this. Click on Make Variable, obstacle X or underscore X, something like that, something which is a sensible name.
Oh, God, that's a good name.
Yeah, for this sprite only. Making sure you're doing this whilst your tree is selected. Click OK and it should appear here. As you can see, I'm toggling it on and off in our display. And now we are going to set the value of our variable. So we're going to set obstacle X to something. And it's the first thing we want to do within the forever loop. So I'm going to drop this here. Okay. So at the moment, if we were to run this, as it is, nothing should change because we haven't actually, because it's still, well, first of all, we haven't changed it from a 0.
Yes.
Okay. So what we would really need to make it random is a random what?
Number.
Yeah, absolutely right. Now, random number is in one of these things.
The green one?
Yeah, the green. Can you remember what it was? It's
Operator.
Yes, well done. Operators. So on the left-hand side, operators.
Operators.
Okay. And under operators, the fifth one down says pick random, 1 to 10.
Oh.
So I've clicked on operators on the left, the green circle. The fifth one down says pick random, 1 to 10. And I'm dragging that into the 0, which means that code block now says set obstacle X to 0. Well, no, I'm about to drop. So it will say set obstacle X to pick random 1 to 10. So, what?
Interesting.
Why?
And also, it's a donut.
So, what we need to do, oh, hang on, we've got a little bit of a problem.
Okay.
Give Melissa a second to catch up. Okay, so Manassa, actually I think, yeah, okay, I'll say, on the left-hand side, do you see all of these colours like I have on my screen? Motion, look, sound, events, control, sensing, operators, variables and blocks. Oh, no worries actually, I guess that means all okay. Okay. Just give him a second. To catch up, or how to catch up. Okay. So I happen to know that the width of this is probably from about 200 pixels to 200 or so. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. I'm assuming, Manasa, you cannot see the blocks for the cat. You're looking for the blocks for the cat. Is that correct? Yes, it is correct. Okay. Here is, to have the blocks for the cat, he'll need to click the link, right? The tiny URL.
I think he's already there. I think what he's possibly, or she's possibly describing the, you have two sprites, one for the cat and one for the tree. You should be able to just click on each. So if you followed the link, and which I believe you did, clicking on the cat, you should see these. If you don't see them, is it possible this allows it to go out of the screen? You do have a scroll bar. So unless you need to scroll up or down to see it, but I was under the impression it would always keep it in focus.
Manasa, this will be recorded, so you can go back to it once your Microsoft does work. It'll be on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so, right. So what we're going to do is picking a number from 1 to 10. We're going to change that from minus 200. Yep, go on.
200.
Yeah, to 200.
Oh, minus 2, 200.
So do you want to do 200?
Okay.
Let's use that part of the keyboard though.
This part? Okay.
200, yep.
I don't know which one.
Perfect. So we have picked the random number minus 200, and you do the minus with the, you can call it what you like, minus, dash, hyphen, takeaway symbol,
Minus Bob.
and 2, just 200, which is essentially the same as plus 200. It won't even let you add the plus symbol. Let's give people a second to catch up with that bit. For those who have already caught up, if we were to run this code now, what do you think would happen? You can leave an answer in the chat. So if I were to click run, where would the obstacles come from? Oh, I think JF has got it spot on. Yeah, they will remain in the middle, because although we're setting this variable, we don't actually consume it. We don't use it anywhere.
Use what anywhere?
Well, we've got this thing called set obstacle x to this random number,
Yeah.
and then we tell the image to always go to 0. So we never use obstacle x. So what that means is, and let's just prove it. Let's just have a go. I'm going to hit the stop button, press play, and yeah, exactly as JF said, all of them straight down the middles. That's not what cameras. Well done. Even better. Okay. So we can go back to our. Oh, can you remember what these things were called? They were called a what?
Variable.
Yes, we need to go back to our variables pane or section. And it's down here. So on the left hand side, we have all the different colours and sections. The dark orange is called variables, so I've clicked on that again, and I have the option at the top to grab my obstacle X. And as I've already said, yours may be named differently. It could be obstacle underscore X or obstacle X, which isn't in uppercase.
Wait, does that have to be hospital or whatever?
Obstacle, sorry?
Obstacle.
No, we could have called it anything we liked.
Like Bob X.
We could have called it everything we like. But you always want the name to be sensible. The idea is, if you were to put this down and come back in 2 weeks' time or a month's time, when you see the name of that variable, it makes sense. We could have just called it X, the variable. And today we know X is a good name because we're meaning the axis. But in 6 months' time, when we've forgotten there's even an axis, we're just going to look at X and think, at least having the word obstacle tells us, something to do with the obstacle, and then you should be able to guess X, or have a chance to at least. So I'm going to grab another instance of obstacle X from my variables window, and I'm going to replace the X. Sorry, the X is 0. So I'm going to hover over and let go. So how does that now read?
Go to X obstacle. I can't say obstacle. Obstacle.
That's it. Obstacle X. Brilliant. Absolutely excellent. So, as JF said earlier, we have got what it's now no longer going to start in the middle. So while people catch up here, does anybody have a guess what would happen now? We'll see if people can guess while others catch up.
Dad, I know why they did the donut. Maybe someone's thrown a donut at the cat.
Who would throw a donut at a cat?
Mean people, like me.
You're mean and you throw donuts at cats.
Well, technically I'm not mean and yeah, I'm not.
So you wouldn't?
Yes, but other people who are mean would.
I don't think anyone would throw donuts at cats, sweetie.
Not like you. Or do you?
Of course I don't.
And that's the mystery.
Okay, so at the moment, if we look at the... Oh, when you click the flag, it will go slightly to the left. Okay.
Does it?
Well, I think something even stranger is going to happen.
Or even stranger.
I think when we click the flag, it will have picked a random position for X and started at the bottom, but it's going to glide back to the middle, which should mean that I can move the cat out of the way. Let's have a look. Yeah. So it's definitely going side to side. And if I move over here, I wonder how many times I would have avoided.
Maybe all of them.
Okay, so that hasn't worked quite as we liked. So that means if we have a look at this motion, this one called glide, we want to glide to its X position. Oops, that's that one. I'll leave it as that. Which means this 0 actually should be the same as this obstacle.
Yes,
X.
supposed to be the opposite.
Yeah, we have to drag it in as well. Well done, you. Good job. Right, so we're going to another instance or a copy of the variable obstacle X, and I'm going to drop it there. I'm going to just press play to show that it seems to be behaving a bit better now. Yeah, so now at least my cat is going to have to try and move out the way. Okay, while we let people wait for people to catch up, I'm going to go over some of the words I was saying. As you can see, we created a variable but we only ever created one. But there's lots on the page. But actually they're all the same thing. And so what happens is, oh, sorry, I've just clicked everything, sorry everyone, not my mouse. So what this means is we set the obstacle X, we set the variable to a number, and that number stays the same all the way through these code blocks until we repeat and then we change it. So we can keep creating or referring to the same variable name. Yeah, and you can see that these are just copies. Yeah.
Are they?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And they are essentially but we would call them either a copy or a value type or a reference type. In this case, I don't think it matters too much.
That's it.
It'll probably be a value type because it's a number. Okay. But we have instances or copies of these. Okay, I'm hoping people are up and ready for the next part. So far, Tessa, can you see, if I hit play,
Yes.
what happens or what kind of things do you think we have missed?
Crashing.
Yeah, he doesn't crash, does he? Look, even if I try and hit something, oh, missed it, and we can better hit anything. Yes, he doesn't actually crash. The bird obviously flies over him, the donut goes over him, and I guess the tree goes through him.
Wow. Ghost tree.
A ghost tree, it could be a ghost tree. So, if the skier, our cat, crashes or touches an obstacle, the cat should, what should the cat do?
It should fall over
Yep.
and get games.
And the game?
Should end.
Correct. Yeah, fall over, crash, and the game should end.
Ooh.
So, I'm going to... Oh,
What is it?
oh wow, my goodness, sorry, there's lots of questions there. So the chat is coming alive. He shouldn't go beyond the borders. Yes, you are right. He shouldn't.
But he can?
In this case, he can do. If it was a bit more polished,
What do you mean by polished?
yeah, that's a good question. By polished, I mean, if we spent more time on it, we would prevent that. But at the moment, we are going to just accept he can or she can go outside the edge. It is cheating, but in fairness, I think the trees can also start outside. So I don't think you're safe anywhere. Okay.
Jai has said, or JF has said, when I click the flag, my 1 goes to the side of the flag.
When I click the flag, my 1. When you say my 1, JF, do you mean the cat? Oh,
We'll
no.
wait for her answer. Krishna says, my cat does not move to the left.
It doesn't move to the left. Okay, so whilst we wait for Jeff to respond, Krishna, if you can see, I've selected my skiing cat. Does your code look like this, where you have a when left arrow and a when right arrow? In your code block? Yeah, okay. So with your code stopped, Krishna, can you just, as you can see, I'm pressing my left key and now I'm pressing my right key. The cat is moving left or right. Does your cat move like this at all? Yes. Okay. So if you now click the green flag and run the game, and we'll ignore the obstacles. Does he now move left or right? If you keep tapping, the cat is a bit slow. So if you press and hold, the cat seems to just kind of pause for a second and then eventually move. So I'm pressing right, now move. So it's almost half a second before the cat actually skis left or right.
Dad, should the obstacles go through that line?
They shouldn't, but for this game it's okay. This is what I meant by polish. It's not perfect.
Like you're polishing your nails, because that can't be perfect, because you can't get it exactly
I don't
perfect.
polish my nails, but I will believe you.
That's exactly right.
Okay, so JF, sorry. When I click the flag, my cat goes to the side of the flag. And then I think JF also writes the tree goes to the side of the flag. So if we go back to the flag, I'm guessing something here may have gone slightly wrong. So if you could have another look, JF, and make sure that you only have one variable, first of all. Assuming there is only one variable, where you set your obstacle X to the random number, it is from -200 all the way up to 200.
Why are we using minuses and X's?
That's a good question. Minus is because the middle is 0.
Middle 0.
So anything above 0 goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, etc., etc. Everything below can't be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 because that's
because it has
on
to
the
be
positive axis.
-1, -2, -3,
That's why
-4.
it's minus.
Oh, now I get it. Interesting.
My code is the same as yours. Okay,
What did you just drop?
my guitar pick. My code is the same as yours. In that case, Jeff, I'm not sure what else to suggest, especially if the tree goes to the side of the flag. So when you say to the side of the flag, I don't think I understand what that means. The flag is that, do you mean the screen flag?
Does it go to the screen flag? Is it supposed to? I have no idea.
I wonder. Very quickly then, we'll probably have to move on. Just going to try something quickly. No, it shouldn't be able to get to the flag because that's outside of the window that renders. The tree goes to the side of the flag.
I wonder if J means it's going outside of the boundaries, the lines. But yeah, it's back to that polish thing.
Yeah, if it is, then that's okay. So if I do this very quickly, and please don't make this change, it's just to demonstrate, make that -200. There we are, we can see, that our owl is very much outside. For the purpose of this course, and so is the tree, for the purpose of this session, we're going to just accept that. Later on, I'm sure we can try and find some time to look into that in more detail, to try to fix that and correct it. But for now, we're just going to go with this and just ignore it a bit. If you really don't want it to, or if it really does upset you a bit, then I guess we could make this -190 to +190. I'm just going to make them both minus for a second. No, that's still not enough. Let's make it -170.
Oh, Dad, I might know why they're doing that.
Just so -160 to 160. That should keep everything within the boundaries, if that's what people mean. It just means it could be slightly more difficult because of the spread. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. So, what we would like is for the game to run until our cat, our skier, touches the tree. So I'm going to click back on the cat. Okay. I'm going to move this to the left, this one there, and that one there, just so I can see things a bit clearer, and I will make it a bit bigger for everybody. Okay, so there we are. What we would like to do here is we now need to wait until our cat touches the tree, and we'll just add this to the bottom of the block. So wait until, think about the words wait until. Yeah, what does that sound like?
Wait until control?
Yeah, it's absolutely right. It is a control. We are telling it to do a thing. Well done. So I'm going to click on control, which is, it's not the dark orange.
It's the light orange.
Yeah, but it's not light enough to be yellow, which is events.
Yeah, so it's like normal orange, and then one's really dark orange. Well, not really, it's just dark.
Cool, cheers, JF. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, the fifth one down is control.
Yeah.
Okay, and, I can't remember what I said we wanted to find.
Wait until.
Wait until, thank you. Trick. The first one says wait 1 second. That's not what we want.
Wait until we want.
It's the sixth one down. It looks more because some of the blocks are so big, but it's just here on my screen. So I'm going to put this here.
What are we supposed to put in that?
Well, that's right. We've got a box. It's an empty box. So at the moment, wait until nothing.
It's a hexagon. Hexagon?
It is a hexagon.
I can't say it.
How did you know it was a hexagon, not a pentagon?
I just cause 6 sides, and that's why I just guess sometimes.
6 and a guess. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are going to wait until our cat touches the tree. So for it to touch, that is what Scratch calls sensing. And a bit like you have the 5 main senses, sight, taste, touch, smell.
Yeah, I get them all. Sometimes it's so annoying.
So I've clicked on sensing. And in here, we need to find touching and then a drop down. The good thing is it's our first one. So under sensing, the very first is touching. And it actually, mine says touching mouse pointer, but that's okay. We can change that. So I'm going to drop that into there, as you said, the hexagon or hexagonal shape. So
Hexagonal. What's that?
we're going to wait until touching what?
Oh, the mouth, the tail.
Well, what's it going to crash into?
Tree 1.
Tree 1. Yeah, absolutely right. This one over here.
It's going to crash.
So again, our cat has been selected.
Talking about
When the green flag has been clicked, we go to the start position, we make sure the cat is pointing the right way, And then we're going to say, but wait until we have touched the tree. And then, what do we want to happen?
We want it to stop all.
Yeah, everything to stop.
Everything to stop.
And that's because at that point,
game should end.
the game should end. Absolutely right. So, in order to tell it to stop, can you remember what that was?
Control.
Yeah, it's a control, it's an order. So I'm going to find control. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fifth one down. It's that lighter of the two oranges. And then from within there, the 8th one down, position 8, if I can read it correctly. Let me just drag it so you can see. Yeah, it was down here. And as you can see, it says stop all.
Okay.
And I'm going to dock that.
Why did you do it so slowly?
Just so people can see what I'm doing. We're lucky because we've got...
Devices! Technology! That's a word?
Well, I was going to say 4 computer screens. Whereas in some people may only have 1, so they're not going to have the room I have.
Yeah, but it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. One over there, one over there.
Um,
Not nice.
that should be enough to make the cat and the game stop. So, as always with programming, do something, test it. Do something, test it. So I'm going to press play, and look, the donut in this case has hit my cat, and the game has stopped. So I'm going to press play again. The game has stopped. I can still move, but the game has stopped. Hey, I actually avoided something.
See.
So I'm now doing my best to avoid everything. This time I'll try and hit something.
Come on, hit something.
There we go. And the game has ended.
Well, that was good.
So let's give everybody just a minute to catch up.
Can I play this thing?
Afterwards, you can make your own.
Yay. Me.
Afterwards. Get off, you. Get off.
I'm playing the game, so you don't crash. So now you can press play, and you wouldn't have crashed. So thank me.
No. Okay. So at the moment, when we crash, does our cat look like it's crashed?
No, it just looks like, yay, I crashed. We hit something.
Absolutely. So we need a way to at least make the cat look like he's crashed. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the cat's costume.
Can I pick?
It doesn't work that way.
Then how are you supposed to change a costume?
I think Eve. Eve's just spot on. Look at that. And yeah, and that's what a great idea. You can put an ending, say game over. So for the moment, we're going to change the cat's costume. But if you notice, after the stop all, there's no place to dock any more code. Like if we have a look at this change 8 by -10, we can see it kind of sticks out to show you that another block can join. But stop all means no, stop all, everything stops, which means you can't change the costume after that. We have to change it before everything stops. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just click on the stop all block and just drag it downwards, and that should separate it out. Okay, so it was there, click and drag to move it out. I'm then going to change the costume. Now the costume is one of the looks. So I've clicked on looks, and somewhere in here we should be able to see switch costume to. The 5th one down. Switch costume. In fact, all he says, switch costume to fallen over. So I'm going to drag that and put it at the bottom. I'm going to rejoin the stop. So what's now going to happen is we'll play the game to test it, because we always test. We will have the cat crash into one of the obstacles to look like he's fallen over, or she has fallen over. But then when we restart the game, what will the cat be like? Which costume will the cat be in? Does anybody know?
Maybe a happy one. Because he hasn't crashed anymore.
No, we're saying...
started over.
Actually, that's not true. That's not right.
So he's like worried, like nervous. How about?
Okay, so let's click on the...
Someone, Krishna can't get the fallen over option.
Okay.
Could you review that?
So are you do you definitely have, first of all, the cat selected still? Okay, we've got a couple of people who can't. That's fine. We'll go over it all. So first of all, could you please all just make sure you've got the skiing cat selected in the sprite window? And then after you do, let's just make sure I deleted it by mistake. Eek. So if you have deleted it, what we can do, let's go to your costumes tab. So at the top, you should have code, costumes and sound. If you click on costumes, you should then be able to right click on your cat and click duplicate. We can change the name of the costume. I'll say Fallen Cat 2.
Fallen Cat 2.
And then, using this editor, we should be able to change some of the things about the cat. So I'm going to...
Oh no, it's moving.
Change the angle. Oops. I'm not going to spend too long on this either, because this part is not my strength. There's the select button.
What's going on?
I'm just going to see if I can... Oh, that's going to look a bit horrible. The cat starts to break into pieces for everybody. I didn't realise that would happen like that.
Oh yeah, last time you do scratch, you took his head off, remember?
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a nice dark colour.
Like purple. That's a nice dark colour.
And I'm just going to put some crazy lines around to sort of show... Oh no! You can see I'm clearly not a...
professional.
An artist here, so... I don't know why...
Can I do it? I'll be much more better.
Now I'm going to make that bigger and just colour in the mouth. That'll do. It's just so you can see it's different, and then that's all we'll do, okay? So that should give you your 2 cats. Okay, so we've only got 5 minutes.
Oh.
So this means, though, at the start of the game, because if we just run this, we can see that our cat, which has fallen over, has changed costumes. If I click start again, he's already fallen over. He's always in this position, which is not what we want.
We do not want that, otherwise. Oh, I fall over once time that I'm going to stay in the position all the time.
So I'm going to just drag everything from under when the flag is clicked. Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go?
Yes. Just look at your screen.
Yep, so this is still with the cat. So when the when the flag is clicked, the first thing we want to do is switch the costume to the normal costume. Okay, and make sure you're not switching the backdrop, it is costume. So 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth one down again, switch costume, which I will duck in here, and I'm going to choose skiing.
Why not laughing?
I am then going to drag everything else and retouch it.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to press the play button again. As you can see, here's our normal cat, who's just crashed. Eek. But if I press play again, we can see our cat is back to normal. Until that point, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Give everybody a second to catch up. Okay, so the very last part is we're going to try and add a score. We've only got 5 minutes for this. So this may be a tiny bit quicker, but if it is too fast, as we said, you'll be able to see the video. I'm also just going to share the link in the Zoom webinar chat so you can do this last screen. So in order to show the score, can you remember, what do we need to make?
A variable.
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 That's close enough.
Variable.
Okay. But we need to have this on the cat. Okay? Sorry, hold on. I'm going to get myself a bit lost for the moment. Okay, so we will put this on the tree. Okay, so on the tree, and I'll tell you why it's on the tree, is because we only get a point when the tree gets to the top, which sounds a bit silly because it seems like we're giving the point to the tree, which is the obstacle. But that's actually the way we know when the tree has gone past, or the bird or the donut has gone past our cat, is when that tree reaches the end. So I have tree 1 selected. I know it's showing an L. And I'm going to make a new variable, which I'm going to call score.
Oh, okay. X or something.
And it's for this sprite only. So I know I'm going to go a bit quicker. Okay. So we can enable or disable. Actually, for something like score, I think that's okay for it to stay. Yeah, I know I'm going a bit fast, JF. We've only got a couple of minutes left. It's going to make sense if I go through this a bit quicker so you can watch it on YouTube afterwards. There's probably not enough here to do another session on it. So I will leave the code up later. So if you just want to watch for this, and then later on, you'll be able to follow along with the YouTube video. Oops. Okay, so I pressed the button and made my score disappear.
No.
Yeah, there we are. So score is now being shown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set, so I'm going to drag my variable up, and after when clicked, I'm going to change the variable to score. Don't forget that, otherwise you'll never see your score increase. And do that before forever, so in between the two. This means our score is set to 0, and that's what we would like it to remain as. But we want to, we want it to remain as 0 at the start of the game. As the game progresses, we are going to want the score to increase. to increment. And we do that by dragging this change obstacle X by 1. It has the wrong variable selected. We'll change that in a second. And we're going to put this right at the bottom after the weight. There we are. Let's change the score by 1. Okay? So now let's see what happens when we play the game. Oops, I got splattered straight away. It went up by 1. After the session, yes, you can.
Yay.
Okay, so it was a little bit slow when it came up. So there's the first one. Okay, so actually the score happens after the weight by 1. It doesn't seem to make sense. I may do it that way. So there we are. As soon as it goes past. Oh no, I got hit. As soon as it. I'm not actually good enough to test this, am I? It's embarrassing. So if I move there we are. 2 have gone past, 3 have gone past, and my score has gone to 3. We could easily try and have more exciting scores. We could change the score by 5 each time. Let's see if the scores go up even quicker. So there are 5 for the first obstacle. 10 points already.
15.
Okay.
20. 20.
Oh no!
Ooh, almost got to 25.
Yep, and as Manasseh said, we could easily add a message to say game over.
Can we?
Well, let's see what happens. Let's just say, let's go to our cat.
Can I actually hear it say hello?
It doesn't actually say the words out loud.
Oh. Let's say in its little mind.
Oops, sorry everybody, I chose the wrong one. Okay, let's see what happens now.
What?
Oh, I did need the 2 seconds one. I'm sorry. Or, this doesn't do what I think it's supposed to do. I've not used this before. Okay.
25 seconds.
We are now over the time. So, oh no, game over.
Now I can see it.
Okay, so that is all the time we have for this week. What I will do is I'm going to copy and paste the code into the slides right now. So we're going to mute and say goodbye. But the finished code, which you can see here, I will keep displayed. And that means for those of you who know, you can take a screenshot if that's easier. So you'll be able to work it out in your own time. The first chunk of code is obviously all for the cat. And then if I go and click on our tree, which we know is also, what was it, a donut?
Yes.
And an owl.
Donut, a wise owl.
A wise owl.
A ghost tree and a ghost tree.
Oh, it's no longer a ghost tree because it's now splatting us now, isn't it?
A splat tree.
A splat tree.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me bring this up here.
Why doesn't it do that tree?
Right, everybody, thank you so much for taking part. There'll be another one next week. Sorry, that was slightly rushed towards the end, but thank you for bearing with us. Hopefully this will be okay for you to either get a photo of it or take a screenshot so you can work on it and get it right. The next stage of this is see if you could add maybe another obstacle. That could be quite fun. Maybe change the speeds, change the scores as I have made it 5. We will hopefully see you next week, and thank you, Kathy, for your help.
Definitely.
Excellent. Okay, guys, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.